Hey, Tina, now that we're here at 11, why don't we get things rolling just to make sure
Okay,
that
I was just going to give it like till 1 after, in case we had
yeah,
any late straggler. But
sure.
so I'm watching it delegate. But we want to get started. We'll go ahead and
Yeah.
do that. So welcome everybody. This was kind of something we threw together quickly. So we've had a lot of questions, and we thought this was the best way to address everyone. And we know we may not be answering all your questions during the session, so there is a chat if you want to put something in during it. And then afterwards, we'll go ahead and open up for additional questions. So I will be monitoring the chat queue during the session. And then today, our agenda, just let you know, we got a whole team on here for you. And then kind of talk about why we decided that this was really important to give this information out to all our customers. And then we're going to give you some tips about how to stay secure. And then some other resources to increase the communication between the team. And then finally, some more tips to keep you healthy when you're working remotely. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to Justin.
Thanks, Tina. And as Tina mentioned, my name is Justin Krentz, and I am an account manager with Vertical Solutions here at the Pittsburgh office. Also on the line, we have Tyler Lewin, who's based out of our Denver office. Tyler, if you want to say hello. Make sure we can hear you. Good. And Chris Bowman is also on the line as a technical resource. He works out of the Pittsburgh office here with me. He's one of our VCIOs. So Chris, you want to say hello as well?
Yeah, hello, everybody.
And before we jump in to the presentation, just want to get this out of the way now and apologize if anybody hears barking dog or screaming baby, or now the most recent, I saw my neighbors about to start cutting the grass. So, I swear, anytime I call her a presentation, somebody decides to lose their minds in this house. So just getting the apology out of the way. So why is cyber hygiene so important to remote workers? I mean, at this point, I think we're all well aware of how disorienting of an experience this can be. In a lot of ways, it became a fire drill where everyone had to pick up their things, and all of a sudden, they're forced to entirely work from home. There wasn't a lot of time to have plan or strategize on how all of this would work, thus leaving a lot of potential for security gaps in this process. And obviously, hackers are well aware of this, and they're becoming more and more aggressive, in an effort to exploit those gaps. So, given the present-day threat landscape, at this point, it's really paramount that there is company-wide awareness to ensure that we don't play into the hands of the bad guys. Working with the staff and sharing some of this knowledge that'll really give your team the tools and awareness to avoid those potential disastrous situations. Just to kind of give you an idea on some numbers here, and exactly how rampant this has become. There's been over 100,000 domains that have been registered in the last few weeks that contain, the language in the address of COVID, virus, corona. Now, while obviously all of those are not going to be malicious in nature, all should certainly be treated as suspect. There's not going to be 100,000 domains that are offering valid information around the coronavirus. So it's going to be a small percentage of those that are true and safe to click on. Phishing attacks. So this is really going to be the #1 way that they're going to try to gain access into your environment. And this goes for work accounts as well as personal accounts. This information is valid for both. These attacks, they're wide nets that they're casting in an effort to gain banking information, sensitive data, or other valuable information that you have. And they're going to do so, by trying to play off of that public fear. They're going to use the terms COVID-19, Corona News Flash. There's going to be emails that appear to be from the CDC. And it's really important at this point for your staff to be, what I would call defensive in reading their emails. And what I mean by that is take the time, make sure that you know the sender, that you're comfortable with the context before you click on anything. So again, be suspicious. if you're asked to do any of these items, make sure that it's a valid request before doing so. And if you're not sure, raise your hand. Ask your IT team. Ask a supervisor. Run it by somebody else in your department before proceeding. It's really important that individuals are applying some critical thinking. As they're now kind of on an island in their own home. Would the CDC have my email? Would the CDC want to send me a free test kit? Obviously those things certainly would never happen. So again, applying that critical thinking would help you to recognize those potentially malicious emails. In 667%, I found this to be a really alarming statistic. So Barracuda Networks found that COVID-19 phishing attacks, so phishing attempts with the language COVID-19 somewhere in the context, are up 667% since February. So this is something that they are really ramping up on. And here's an example of what you might get. So as you can see, it's got COVID-19 in the body of the email with a link to click on that's been uploaded from an iDrive. How to protect your friends. 75,000 infected. It's trying to incite fear. It's trying to play off of people wanting to gain this knowledge and click on links under the assumption that it's valid. Another example here, as you can see, it starts to develop kind of a recurring theme here. Coronavirus in the subject line. This one was coming from a foreign source. Speaking to what's going on with many companies asking to download to get some content. These are the things that users need to be cognizant of and really review and validate prior to clicking anything. So now I'm going to hand over to Tyler, who's going to touch a little bit further on connections from home.
Yep. Hello, everyone. In relation to connections, understanding where the most important documents are in your organization and who has access to them. This also includes ensuring that your Wi-Fi is secure as well. If it's unsecure, these documents can be open to hackers for them to gain. And then per the CISA, updating your VPNs and ensuring patches are up to date on devices that are remoting into your work environment. Now, for almost a week, a group of hackers have been breaking into people's routers and changing the DNS settings in order to point unsuspecting device users to coronavirus-related sites pushing malware. Now, hackers are using brute force attacks to guess the admin password of targeted routers. Once they guess the password and get in, hackers are changing those router default DNS server settings and pointing those devices to their own servers. Every DNS query made by users connected to a hijacked router goes through the hacker's DNS servers, giving the attackers full control over what sites a user accesses and then redirecting those users to a custom site, urging users to install a coronavirus information app. Now, for passwords, it's obviously very important to keep them as strong as ever and to never ever store them on a file on your computer, especially for anything work related. Differentiate your passwords across the programs and the different softwares that you guys are using, just including numbers, symbols, capital letters, lowercase letters, just trying to differentiate them across the board. Now, here are some really unique examples of different passwords that we've seen or have been used. We all have unique moments in our life that we can use for a specific password. I, of course, do so myself, and we recommend it to all our clients as well. Consider a password vault. This is a system that stores passwords for various privileged accounts in a privileged account management system. Finally, consider multi-factor authentication. We push this as much as possible to anyone we speak to in the healthcare sector or any market in itself. It just adds another level of security to your network and programs that you're using. A great tool that your organization can use is a dark web report. This shows the passwords that are under your domain that are being currently sold on the dark web. You can actually check this for both your work email and personal email. We and many other security organizations and agencies recommend that you change your password every 90 days. This means changing it across the board for all the different programs that you're using, and also too on a personal basis. We don't recommend just using one specific password across the board. And if anybody's interested in this, we can provide this afterwards for your organization just to ensure you're secure. So I will hand it on back on over to Justin.
All right, thank you, Tyler. So using your own device. This becomes very important. Even though the staff is now dispersed, that everybody's still following company security policies. You want to make sure that devices that are being used are up to date. They're patched out. They have antivirus installed. The antivirus is also not only installed but updated, and they're running on operating systems that are supported. For those of you that aren't aware, Windows 7 is no longer supported as of January of this year. This was obviously a very popular operating system in both home and business. So if you've got users that are leveraging that, in some capacity, there should be a discussion about upgrading, just to ensure that there's no potential security gaps in that system. Communication systems really become key in this new process as well. You want to make sure that your staff has secure access to voice in their home, and provide some sort of phone tree or hotline to call, or have some sort of process should they need to contact somebody for assistance. That should be clearly defined so that everybody knows, what the process is and can follow that should they run into any sort of issues. You want to make sure that the staff aren't using their personal email at home. Again, this is something that you really want to hammer home with those individuals, that even though you're at home, we expect all business correspondence and matters to be communicated via your work email. Obviously a lot of people have their Gmail up because it's on their home computer. They've got that system put in place already, but they need to be very cognizant that they aren't sending any sort of sensitive data accidentally through their personal email account versus their work. Implementing chat features and having recurring remote meetings, these are also great ways to ensure the lines of communication remain open, in this new business model. That's really key, that you're kind of keeping your finger on the pulse of the staff and ensuring that, those lines of communication are open should they have any concern or questions. With that, one of the tools that is commonly used is the Microsoft Teams platform. So for those of you who are unaware but are already using Office 365, that Microsoft Teams licensing is included and available immediately. And for those of you that aren't Office 365 users, I know that there's some, Microsoft has now offered this solution for free for the time being. I think right now they have it set for the next 6 months, but that provides a great window to use a really impressive business communication tool at zero cost. This slide just gives you a little bit of visibility into what Teams looks like. I get this question quite a bit. So wanted to at least provide these so that everybody can kind of get a look and feel for what it is. There's apps that you can use on your phone, so it can be just installed on a smartphone. You can obviously download and have the application installed on your computer as well. It includes video, it includes chat, file sharing, group chatting, et cetera, all of while remaining secure and protected. So there's not concern that your environment would be compromised or that it's public facing. And then the last key item here is really to just stay productive. You want to set an alarm. You want to wake up as if you're going to go into the office, get dressed, have some set times for breaks. Check in with your staff, make sure that they're doing well, mentally, physically. And try and enjoy your family. It's really important for everybody. We're kind of all in the same boat here together, to try and find some positives in the situation. It gives everybody a chance to really spend some quality time with the ones they love. So it's important to not lose focus of that. While we're all kind of in isolation here. And then really just to wrap things up, these are four great questions that everybody should be asking themselves as it pertains to their IT. Can we truly afford a cyber attack? Given kind of the current landscape of business and what's going on, what would a cyber attack do to our ability to continue to work? What security tactics can we implement to further protect our organization? It may be something that there was a plan and strategy around it, but it got pushed to the back burner or other things came up. It's something that everybody needs to be cognizant of. Have you had a security analysis? Has somebody looked at your environment specifically and recognized any sort of potential gaps over the last 6 months? Technology is super fast moving. What was working 6-12 months ago isn't going to have the same ability to protect yourselves as it is today, given present day threats. And then the network. What holes are there in your specific network that could potentially be exploited? Everybody has nuances to how they operate and how their network's configured and in the way in which they share information as compared to other businesses. So it's not as if there's a single blanket solution that everybody should be applying. You really need to have somebody kind of go through your specifics with a fine-tooth comb and really define any red flags or potential holes that could be exploited. So that's everything from our end. Again, I really appreciate everybody taking the time to join us today. Wanted to leave some time here. We were going to try to leave 10 to 15 minutes just for questions. We certainly recognize that everybody probably has some specifics that they would like some more information on as it pertains to their processes. So wanted to leave ample time for everybody to fire away and have us provide some answers to you. So we'll open up the floor again. Tyler's information, my information, as you can see here on the slide. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here as resources for everybody. We want to make sure that everybody is doing everything they can to ensure that they don't come across damaging situations as it relates to their security. So Tina, if you want to ask any of the questions that we've been fielding throughout the webinar, that'd be great.
So first of all, I would like to add that you didn't have on your second to last slide of hints is be kind to yourself, because sometimes this stuff is all new and we are figuring it out. So I appreciate the scramble that and you'll see we did that ourselves with this webinar. I thought I could get phone in and we couldn't. And then I did say at the beginning of this, we'll open it up for questions. But as we were going in, I double checked, and using this platform is just for chat only. So I did send a chat out for everybody, just saying, hey, here it is where you can send some questions. So we did get a few submitted. If you have any additional, if you can't figure out how to chat during this, we're always available. You can contact us directly. And then finally, I am going to send out the presentation and with all these links, so you don't have to worry about jotting anything down. And this will be recorded if you want to share it with anybody else. So that being said, I did get a couple of questions. You say that Teams is free. So how, sorry, how do I get it? So,
sure. Tina, do you want to take that one, being the license guru?
There's a number one that's more of a license question. They just want to know, how do they get it on their computer? So, how does it get installed or something? So I figured that was more of a technical side.
Yeah, Chris, you want to just go over kind of the highlights on how Teams gets installed?
Sure. So you can download Teams from the Microsoft Office portal. It's portal.office.com. If you have a Microsoft Office account, it's very, very straightforward. You just sign into your account, and in the portal on the top right-hand side, there is a install applications option, and you can simply go to that install Office button, select the other install options, And Microsoft Teams is one of the applications under the View apps to install.
Okay, so
And
then
the other
next
side
question.
of that, I just wanted to
go ahead.
interject. On the phone, you know, in the App Store, if you just search Microsoft Teams, it's the first one that pops up, and all you've got to do is click that and install, and then it will prompt you to enter your credentials and information, and then you have the ability to use that tool. So very simple from the App Store side of it.
So, wow, Teams seems to be our popular question, so I'm just going to stay on that, and then we do have some more about some technical stuff. So this one kind of would go for me on the licensing. They said, hey, this was a web conference and you can't call in. In the future, if we use this, we're going to need to be able to have some people who don't have speakers. And yes, you will be able to do that. This is something called Teams Events, which is geared for broadcasting out to a lot of people. But Teams comes with a default called Teams Meeting. But to add in the phone, there is an add-in that is not part of the free. But if you reach out to me, I can always direct you on that. And then while we're talking about Teams, someone did ask about Zoom. Like, why would Teams be better? They've been using Zoom. Does anybody want to jump on that question? Or
so there's a lot of similarities between what you can do on Teams versus what you can do on Zoom. One of the advantages with Teams is that it is an integrated part of the Microsoft Office 365 environment. So if you have other Microsoft 365 products, SharePoint, OneDrive, all of the work that's being done in Teams, file shares in Teams, that's all staying inside of the Office 365 environment. So any file references, especially if you have the Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection, all of those links, all of the file transfers are being scanned by Microsoft Security at every step of the way. The other issue right now, Zoom is a great product. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of noise in the news in the last few days about hacking in the Zoom application, and basically they've had individuals getting into Teams meetings, or not Teams meetings, Zoom meetings, and just causing a lot of chaos, making noises, sending insults, putting up even pornographic pictures in the meetings. Some of it is just poor practices, putting links to a meeting invitation in social media like Facebook, Instagram, that sort of thing, that are public facing, and just making it easy for people to find the links and get in. Some of it is a little bit more uncertain as to how users are getting in. I know that the Zoom organization is working hard to figure out what's going on right now, but we just haven't had those reports in the Teams environment. We have not heard of that sort of thing happening. And I think a good part of it also is that Teams, like all other Office 365 applications, is able to leverage some of Microsoft's advanced tools like multi-factor authentication, which requires not only do you know your password to access Teams, but you also need to have a device, usually it's your cell phone, but not always, that verifies that you are who you are. So even if somebody somehow gets your password or guesses your password, they can't log in as you and make mischief. So I think those are some of the reasons that we're seeing better security outcomes in Teams right now than we are on the Zoom platform.
all right, but it's and then I was gonna say something, but we'll just move on. This is actually this question might be good for me too, Chris. Someone says, you said your Wi-Fi should be secure. How do I know if mine is?
So the very first thing I would look at is when you connect to your Wi-Fi, does it ask for a password? If it doesn't, or if it says Wi-Fi open, it is not secure. There's no encryption happening, and all of the information is broadcasting just in the open air. So that's the first thing. Also, if you click the little Wi-Fi button in the bottom right corner of your screen in the notification bar, and you look at the Wi-Fi you're connected to, it will say connected, secured in Windows 10. If it doesn't say that, it's not secured. It's just broadcasting in the open air.
And just another point on that, Chris, I would recommend everybody to do that today. Check which signal you're connected to, because a lot of times that stuff is cached, right? So if your internet went out and you had connected to a public Wi-Fi because you were in the midst of something and then never really thought about it again, you may still be connecting to that open public Wi-Fi if you didn't go in and change that setting. So everybody, you should really have staff validate, hey, I want you to go through this process and confirm that you're on a secured wireless. Even if they think they are, they say, yeah, I've got one at home and I know the password. Okay, well, just click on it and make sure that that's the network that you're connected to.
That's about it. No more questions, but we did have a comment, which is someone mentioned, hey, thanks for everything you guys are doing. Well, I'm paraphrasing, to make it help us through this transition. So we appreciate the thanks. And,
yeah, absolutely appreciate that. And just one more thing, Tina. I just want to let everybody know, as kind of things progress with this, we're going to make sure that we're keeping clients and prospects and other individuals abreast of what's changing and happening. So be on the lookout for other webinars. This certainly isn't going to be the only one. So if there's more vital information that we feel everybody should be aware of, we'll be certainly doing this again.
Yeah. So that's about it. I'm going to do all the follow-up that I mentioned earlier. And if you want to respond to any of my emails and just kind of give me your thoughts on how it went, we appreciate any feedback. Like I said, we had a bunch of questions and we put this together pretty quickly. So I'd like to hear if you thought it was valuable or what else we could be doing. So with that, look at that. We're 3 minutes early, Justin.
All right. Wonderful.
I can also send everybody a picture of my new dog that I just got from the rescue if you want to see him. Speaking of dogs.
Well, everybody, I made it through with no screaming baby and no barking dog. I did get a text from my wife that he's awake and I have to go help now. So just appreciate everybody joining us today and look forward to doing this again soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks so much. Bye.